The Kravacs had spent decades studying Earth through remote quantum reconnaissance. Their intelligence networks had compiled terabytes of data, analyzed countless communication patterns, and mapped human societal structures with clinical precision. Captain Zarek reviewed the preliminary invasion protocols with a sense of detached certainty that bordered on contempt. Humans were categorized as a Class D potential civilization, technologically primitive, socially fractured, and incapable of unified resistance. The invasion was supposed to be a routine planetary acquisition, a mere footnote in the Kravacs' expansion log. Deep within the massive biomechanical mothership, holographic displays flickered with Earth's global data streams. Each screen presented a different perspective. Political divisions, economic disparities, cultural conflicts. To the Kravacs, these appeared to be fatal weaknesses. They saw a species perpetually on the brink of self-destruction, ripe for immediate subjugation. What they couldn't comprehend was the extraordinary potential that lay beneath those surface-level divisions. In a secure military bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Rebecca Chen studied the initial invasion signatures. Her career had been defined by preparing for scenarios that most considered impossible. The global defense protocols she had championed for years were about to face their ultimate test. "Activate Pandora Protocol," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Thousands of kilometers away, in a nondescript research facility outside Mumbai, Dr. Vikram Mehta looked up from his quantum entanglement research. The anomalies he had been tracking for months were no longer theoretical. They were happening, right now, in real time. His team of researchers, a diverse group of physicists, mathematicians, and computer scientists, had been working on something the Kravacs could never have anticipated. A communication and defense system that didn't just react to threats, but anticipated and transformed them. The first wave of Kravac scout ships began their systematic approach. Their sensors swept across the planet, collecting detailed environmental and technological data. Each scan was a probing attempt to understand the world they were about to conquer. But data is just information, and humans have always been masters of turning information into innovation. In the Pacific Ocean, a network of experimental underwater quantum communication relays suddenly came to life. Designed originally as a climate research project, these advanced sensor arrays were now picking up signatures that defied conventional understanding of physics. Marcus Reyes, the satellite technician who first detected the invasion, was no longer alone. His initial alert had triggered a global response network that moved with a fluidity the Kravacs couldn't comprehend. Military installations, research centers, communication networks, all began to synchronize in ways that looked like chaos to an outside observer. But it wasn't chaos, it was adaptation. Dr. Aisha Nakamura's quantum interference patterns were spreading. What had begun as a localized research project was now a global neural network of human potential. Each disruption, each quantum anomaly, became a piece of a larger, more complex puzzle. The Kravacs had historical records of planetary conquests spanning centuries. They had subjugated civilizations with technologies far more advanced than their targets. They had broken spirits before breaking defenses. But they had never encountered humanity. As the first invasion ships began their approach, something fundamental was changing. The very fabric of potential was shifting. Humanity wasn't just preparing to resist. They were preparing to redefine the entire concept of interstellar conflict. The invasion had begun. But this was no ordinary first contact. This was humanity's moment to show the universe exactly what it was made of. The Kravacs' flagship's command center hummed with a cold, calculated efficiency. Captain Krelax watched the invasion progression with the detached precision of a species that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Holographic displays tracked the dissolution of Tokyo's infrastructure, each destroyed building a data point in their systematic planetary acquisition protocol. But something was wrong. The initial sensor sweeps should have detected panic, widespread terror, the complete breakdown of human communication and social structures. Instead, the data streams were adapting. "Analyze communication patterns," Krelax commanded, a hint of uncertainty creeping into the traditionally emotionless CRIVAX communication protocol. The response from the ship's primary intelligence network was unprecedented. Micro-fluctuations, adaptive resonance, communication channels that didn't just resist, they transformed. In the heart of the Australian Quantum Computing Research Centre, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the invasion unfold like a complex mathematical equation. Her team had been preparing for this moment for years, though no one had believed their most extreme simulation scenarios could ever become reality. Network synchronization at 47%, her colleague Dr. Ahmed Khalid called out, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked more like an abstract art installation than a communication system. The invasion wasn't just a military operation. It was becoming the most comprehensive stress test humanity had ever encountered. Beneath the streets of Seoul, Ji-Soo Park and her team of network engineers were engaged in a battle that defied traditional understanding of conflict. Each alien communication protocol was a language waiting to be understood, decoded, and ultimately transformed. They're using quantum encryption based on a 12-dimensional communication matrix, Ji-Soo muttered, her eyes reflecting the complex holographic patterns surrounding her. But encryption is just a problem of pattern recognition. Around her, young engineers who had spent their entire careers developing adaptive network defense systems now faced their ultimate challenge. What had been theoretical research was now the front line of planetary defense. In Buenos Aires, Dr. Maria Rodriguez's marine exploration communication algorithms were finding unexpected applications. Protocols designed to help underwater research drones communicate in the most challenging environments were now being repurposed to understand and disrupt alien communication systems. The CRIVAX had studied Earth for decades. They had analyzed human communication patterns, military capabilities, technological development. They believed they understood human limitations. They were catastrophically wrong. On the streets of Tokyo, what appeared to be random civilian movements were anything but. Emergency response teams moved with a precision that suggested years of preparation. Underground communication networks, initially developed for internet resilience, now became survival channels. Lieutenant Hiroshi Tanaka observed the invasion with a calm that would have seemed impossible to the CRIVAX. Decades of international disaster response training had prepared him for scenarios that most would consider unimaginable. Each destroyed building, each moment of apparent chaos, was another opportunity for human adaptation. The CRIVAX invasion protocol was designed to maximize psychological terror. They had conquered hundreds of civilizations by breaking their target's spirit before breaking their defenses. Their advanced sensory arrays were calibrated to detect panic, to measure the precise moment when a species would submit. Instead, they received something entirely unexpected: calm, calculated resistance. Quantum communication channels began to develop something the CRIVAX had never encountered. Not just adaptive responses, but predictive capabilities that seemed to border on the impossible. Human potential was revealing itself as something far more complex than any alien intelligence had ever imagined. The first strike was not about destruction. It was about transformation. Humanity was about to show the universe exactly what it was made of. The global research network came alive with a speed that defied conventional understanding. What looked like isolated pockets of scientific effort began to synchronize with a fluidity that would have been impossible just hours earlier. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum computing team in Sao Paulo had been working on something revolutionary long before the invasion. Their adaptive algorithm project, initially funded as a speculative research initiative, was about to become humanity's most powerful weapon. We're not just analyzing their technology, Rodriguez explained to her international team assembled via quantum-encrypted holographic conference. We're learning how to speak their language of technology. The CRIVAX communication systems began experiencing anomalies that their most advanced diagnostic protocols couldn't explain. Micro-fluctuations appeared in their quantum encryption, tiny breaches that seemed to breathe with an almost organic intelligence. In a nondescript research facility outside Mumbai, Dr. Vikram Mehta watched the global response with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound understanding. His team had been developing quantum entanglement communication protocols that were now proving to be far more than theoretical research. "It's not about breaking their technology," Mehta told his lead researcher, Dr. Priya Sharma. "It's about understanding it so completely that we can reshape its fundamental nature." Across the Pacific, a group of marine biologists and quantum physicists in a Hawaiian research station made an unexpected breakthrough. Their work on adaptive communication systems for deep-sea research drones was suddenly finding unprecedented applications. Dr. Maya Chen, a marine communication specialist, realized something profound. The communication strategies they had developed to help autonomous underwater vehicles communicate in extreme environments were remarkably similar to the adaptive communication protocols now needed to interface with alien technology. "We've been practicing for this moment without even knowing it," she whispered, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked more like a living, breathing organism than a computer system. The Krivak's flagship's intelligence systems began to experience something they had never encountered in centuries of galactic conquest: genuine uncertainty. Each attempt to analyze human communication patterns resulted in increasingly complex and unpredictable response matrices. Captain Krelax reviewed the mounting anomalies with growing concern. The invasion protocol, which had been successful across hundreds of planetary conquests, was beginning to fail in ways that defied all known technological and strategic understanding. In Seoul, Jisoo Park's network engineering team had transformed their underground research facility into a living, breathing communication warfare center. What had begun as cybersecurity research was now the front line of planetary defense. "They're using a 12-dimensional communication matrix," Jisoo explained to her team. "But matrices can be rewritten. Languages can be learned." Each member of her team represented a different approach to the problem. A former video game developer brought insights about adaptive system design. A linguistic AI researcher understood the deeper structures of communication. A quantum physicist saw the entire challenge as a complex mathematical problem waiting to be solved. The global research network was behaving like a single, massive, adaptive organism. Universities, research centers, military think tanks, and private technology companies were sharing information at a speed and depth that would have been impossible just days earlier. What the Krivaks saw as human weakness was actually their most powerful strength: the ability to collaborate, to adapt, to transform challenges into opportunities. Dr. Rodriguez's quantum communication protocols were doing more than just analyzing alien technology. They were learning, evolving, speaking a language of potential that the Krivaks had never encountered. Humanity wasn't just resisting the invasion. They were redefining the very concept of technological conflict. The technological dance had begun, and humanity was about to lead. The psychological warfare was unlike anything the Krivaks had ever encountered. What began as a standard invasion protocol was transforming into a bewildering maze of human communication that defied all known analytical models. Dr. Rebecca Chandra, a leading expert in cross-cultural communication and psychological resilience, had spent her entire career studying how humans respond to extreme stress. Her team at the Global Psychological Response Center was now conducting the most unprecedented study in human history. "They're trying to break our spirit," she explained to a room of international researchers, "but they don't understand that our spirit is our most adaptive technology." Social media became an unexpected battlefield. What the Krivaks saw as a chaotic communication network was actually a sophisticated, real-time adaptive intelligence system. Memes tracking alien ship movements began to spread faster than the invasion itself. Crowdsourced analysis of alien technology turned global terror into a collaborative game. In Mumbai, a group of teenage programmers began developing an augmented reality game that mapped alien ship movements in real time. What started as a creative response to terror became a critical intelligence gathering tool. Each player became a node in a massive, distributed intelligence network. Captain Zarek of the Krivak's flagship watched in growing confusion as human communication channels defied every known protocol of psychological warfare. Their invasion algorithms were designed to detect and suppress resistance. Instead, they were encountering something entirely unexpected. The live streams were the most bewildering element. Instead of panic, humans were documenting the invasion with a mixture of scientific curiosity, dark humor, and collective resilience. A marine biologist in New Zealand would provide technical analysis of an alien weapon's energy signature. Moments later, a comedian in Los Angeles would turn the same information into a viral joke that spread across global communication networks. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum communication team discovered something profound. The human response wasn't just a defense mechanism. It was a complex, adaptive language of its own. They're communicating in layers, she explained to her international team. Technical data, cultural references, emotional resilience, all bundled into a communication protocol that our alien visitors can't even begin to comprehend. In the Underground Network Engineering Center in Seoul, Ji-Soo Park watched the psychological response with scientific fascination. The communication channels were doing more than just resisting. They were transforming the very nature of the conflict. A teenage gamer in Brazil discovered a critical vulnerability in alien shield frequencies. A retired cryptographer in Moscow connected communication patterns that no single intelligence agency could have noticed. A street artist in Cairo created a series of augmented reality installations that mapped alien ship movements, turning terror into a collective artistic response. The Kravaks had studied Earth for decades. They had analyzed human communication patterns, psychological responses, cultural structures. They believed they understood human limitations. They were catastrophically wrong. Each intercepted transmission became a puzzle. Humans were sending messages that were simultaneously serious intelligence reports, cultural commentary, and elaborate jokes. The Kravaks' communication analysis systems began to experience something they had never encountered: genuine confusion. Dr. Rebecca Chandra's team identified a critical breakthrough. Human psychological resilience wasn't about suppressing fear. It was about transforming fear into collective action. Each moment of potential terror became an opportunity for innovation, collaboration, and unexpected creativity. The invasion was revealing something fundamental about human potential. They weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the very rules of conflict, communication, and collective intelligence. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to find hope, humor, and purpose in the most impossible moments. The psychological dance had begun, and humanity was leading with an entirely unexpected choreography. The global transformation happened with a speed that would have been inconceivable just days earlier. National boundaries dissolved like morning mist, replaced by a collaborative network that spanned continents, cultures, and disciplines. In the International Space Station, Commander Elena Rodriguez, no relation to the quantum computing Dr. Rodriguez, watched the unfolding invasion with a perspective unlike any other human. Orbiting 400 kilometers above the planet, she coordinated a global response that defied traditional understanding of international cooperation. We're no longer talking about national defense, she communicated to ground control. We're talking about planetary resilience. The Kravaks had meticulously studied Earth's historical conflicts. They understood human divisions, political ideologies, economic disparities, cultural differences. What they couldn't comprehend was humanity's capacity to unite in the face of an existential threat. A farmer in Argentina shared real-time satellite data with a marine biologist in New Zealand. A teenage programmer in Mumbai collaborated with a retired cryptographer in Moscow. A climate scientist in Cape Town worked alongside a quantum physicist in Stockholm, their communication channels creating a living, breathing network of human potential. Dr. Vikram Mehta's research facility in Mumbai became a global coordination center. What had begun as a specialized quantum research project transformed into the nerve center of humanity's collective response. International research protocols were rewritten in real time, with scientists from every continent contributing to a rapidly evolving defense strategy. It's not about individual brilliance, Dr. Mehta explained to his international team. It's about collective intelligence. The Kravax invasion protocols had been designed to exploit human divisions. Instead, they were witnessing something entirely unexpected. Each attempt to isolate or divide human communication networks resulted in even more complex and adaptive response mechanisms. In the Underground Network Engineering Center in Seoul, Ji-Soo Park watched global communication patterns with scientific fascination. The human response was evolving faster than any known technological system. What looked like chaos to an outside observer was actually a sophisticated, self-organizing network. Military resources were being redistributed with a fluidity that defied traditional strategic thinking. A naval submarine off the coast of Brazil became a quantum communication relay. Aerospace research facilities in Japan transformed into distributed intelligence gathering centers. Agricultural research stations in Kenya became critical nodes in a global early warning system. The invasion had become a catalyst for something profound. Humanity was not just defending itself. It was reimagining its own potential. Dr. Rebecca Chandra's psychological resilience team identified a critical pattern. The global response wasn't just about survival. It was about collective transformation. Each culture, each individual brought a unique perspective to the global challenge. A street artist in Cairo created augmented reality installations that mapped alien ship movements. A group of teenage programmers in Brazil developed real-time communication encryption protocols. A retired cryptographer in Moscow connected communication patterns that no single intelligence agency could have noticed. The Kravax communication analysis systems began to experience cascading failures. Their invasion algorithms, developed over centuries of planetary conquests, couldn't process the rapid, adaptive nature of human collaboration. "We're not just fighting," Commander Rodriguez communicated from the International Space Station. "We're evolving." Satellite networks, research facilities, communication centers, all became nodes in a living, breathing planetary defense system. The boundaries between military, scientific, and civilian resources dissolved. Every human became a potential contributor to the global response. What the Kravax saw as human weakness was actually their most powerful strength: the ability to collaborate, to adapt, to transform challenges into opportunities. Humanity wasn't just resisting the invasion. They were redefining the very concept of collective intelligence. The global unification had begun, and the universe was about to witness something extraordinary. The quantum breakthrough came from an unexpected convergence of disciplines that would have seemed impossible just weeks earlier. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team had been working at the intersection of quantum computing, marine biology, and artificial intelligence, a combination that made little sense to traditional research protocols. Dr. Priya Sharma, a quantum physicist who had spent years studying marine communication systems, made the critical connection. The adaptive communication strategies used by deep-sea organisms, creatures that survived in the most extreme environments on Earth, provided the key to understanding the alien technological ecosystem. "It's not about breaking their technology," Dr. Sharma explained to her international research team. "It's about understanding communication as a living, adaptive system." The Kravax flagship's most advanced systems began to experience anomalies that defied their most sophisticated diagnostic protocols. What appeared to be random fluctuations were actually a complex, adaptive communication language that was slowly consuming their technological infrastructure. In the underground research facility beneath the Tokyo Quantum Research Institute, Dr. Aisha Nakamura watched the technological transformation with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound understanding. Her team had been developing quantum entanglement communication protocols that were now proving to be far more than theoretical research. Ji-Soo Park's network engineering team in Seoul had transformed their facility into a living, breathing technological warfare center. Each team member brought a unique perspective. A former video game developer understood adaptive system design. A linguistic AI researcher comprehended the deeper structures of communication. A quantum physicist saw the entire challenge as a complex mathematical problem. The breakthrough came during what seemed like an ordinary research session. A graduate student named Miguel Rodriguez, no relation to Dr. Elena Rodriguez, noticed a subtle pattern in the alien communication protocols that resembled biological adaptation mechanisms found in extremophile organisms. "It's like how deep-sea bacteria communicate," Miguel explained, his holographic display showing intricate communication patterns. "They don't just send messages. They negotiate entire ecosystems of information." Massive Krivax warships found their most advanced systems gradually compromised. Navigation became unreliable. Communication networks developed inexplicable vulnerabilities. What should have been an unstoppable invasion was becoming a slow, agonizing technological breakdown. Captain Zarek watched in mounting horror as the primitive species systematically dismantled the most advanced military force in the known galaxy. Their predictive models, which had conquered hundreds of worlds, began to fail spectacularly. The quantum communication protocols developed by Dr. Rodriguez's team were doing more than just analyzing alien technology. They were learning, evolving, speaking the language of potential that the Krivax had never encountered. A research team in Buenos Aires discovered that the alien technological ecosystem could be manipulated using communication strategies derived from complex ecological systems. What the Krivax saw as impenetrable quantum encryption was becoming a living, breathable communication landscape. "We're not just breaking their technology," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a global research briefing. "We're teaching it a new way of existing." The Krivax had studied Earth for decades. They had analyzed human technological capabilities, military developments, scientific potential. They believed they understood human limitations. They were catastrophically wrong. Each destroyed system became an opportunity for learning. Each compromised communication channel became a new avenue of understanding. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was fundamentally reimagining the concept of technological conflict. The global research network was behaving like a single, massive, adaptive organism. Universities, research centers, military think tanks, and private technology companies were sharing information at a speed and depth that would have been impossible just days earlier. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't advanced technology. It was the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. The technological dance had begun, and humanity was about to lead the most extraordinary performance the universe had ever witnessed. The Krivax Command Center descended into a state of unprecedented chaos. Captain Zarek watched as their most advanced predictive models collapsed, replaced by a communication ecosystem that defied every known principle of technological warfare. What had begun as a routine planetary acquisition was transforming into the most complex challenge in the history of Krivax galactic expansion. The holographic displays surrounding the command deck flickered with impossible data streams, communication patterns that seemed to breathe, adapt, and evolve in real time. "Analyze communication protocols," Zarek commanded, a hint of desperation creeping into the traditionally emotionless Krivax communication frequency. The response from the ship's primary intelligence network was unprecedented, complete, and total uncertainty. In the depths of the massive biomechanical mothership, Krivax intelligence analysts experienced something they had never encountered in centuries of galactic conquest: genuine confusion. Their invasion protocols, which had systematically broken hundreds of civilizations, were being rewritten by an entity they couldn't comprehend. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum communication team had discovered something profound. Humans weren't just resisting the invasion. They were transforming the very nature of technological conflict. Each intercepted transmission became a multi-layered puzzle that defied traditional analysis. The Krivax had studied Earth's historical conflicts with clinical precision. They understood human divisions, political ideologies, economic disparities, cultural differences. What they couldn't comprehend was humanity's capacity to turn those very differences into a strength. A communication relay from the Krivax secondary command structure revealed the growing panic. Technical reports mixed with what could only be described as a form of existential dread. Their language, typically a precise mathematical construct, began to develop unexpected variations, almost like an emotional response. Jisoo Park's network engineering team in Seoul had transformed the invasion into the most comprehensive technological stress test in human history. What looked like random communication patterns to the Kravax was actually a sophisticated, adaptive intelligence network. "They're trying to understand us by becoming us," Dr. Vikram Mehta observed during a global research briefing. The Kravax communication systems were no longer just attempting to conquer. They were attempting to comprehend. The invasion had become a mirror, reflecting the most profound aspects of human potential back to its originators. On the Kravax flagship, Captain Zarek reviewed the mounting anomalies with increasing desperation. Their invasion protocol, perfected over centuries of galactic conquest, was failing in ways that defied all known technological and strategic understanding. Dr. Rebecca Chandra's psychological resilience team identified a critical pattern in the Kravax communication breakdown. The alien intelligence was experiencing something akin to psychological crisis, a complete collapse of their understanding of technological and biological potential. "They're not just losing," Dr. Chandra explained to her international team. "They're being forced to reimagine their entire conceptual framework of intelligence and conflict." The global human response was unlike anything the Kravax had ever encountered. A farmer in Argentina sharing satellite data with a marine biologist in New Zealand, a teenage programmer in Mumbai collaborating with a retired cryptographer in Moscow, a street artist in Cairo creating augmented reality installations that mapped alien ship movements. What the Kravax saw as human weakness was actually their most powerful strength, the ability to collaborate, to adapt, to transform challenges into opportunities. Massive Kravax warships found their most advanced systems gradually compromised. Navigation became unreliable. Communication networks developed inexplicable vulnerabilities. What should have been an unstoppable invasion was becoming a slow, agonizing technological and psychological breakdown. The invasion protocols were doing more than just failing. They were revealing the fundamental limitations of the Kravax understanding of intelligence, communication, and potential. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were redefining the very concept of technological and biological intelligence. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and the universe was about to witness something extraordinary. The quantum invitation was more than a communication protocol. It was a fundamental reimagining of interstellar interaction. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a global communication hub, her team having developed something far beyond a simple message of surrender or resistance. The communication protocol they had created was a living, breathing ecosystem of potential, a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of intelligence. Captain Zarek of the Kravax flagship watched in mounting confusion as the human communication matrix began to transform their entire technological infrastructure. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a defense. It was something entirely unprecedented. "We're offering you a choice," Dr. Rodriguez's message began, translated through quantum communication channels that seemed to breathe with their own intelligence. Not submission, not conquest, but a fundamental reimagining of what intelligence can be. The Kravax had conquered hundreds of civilizations. They had broken spirits before breaking defenses. They understood technological superiority, hierarchical command structures, the mathematics of subjugation. They did not understand humanity. Dr. Vikram Mehta's research team in Mumbai had discovered something extraordinary. The human communication protocol was more than a message. It was an invitation to a completely different way of understanding existence. Each quantum entanglement carried not just information, but potential, the capacity for growth, adaptation, transformation. Jisoo Park's network engineering team in Seoul had transformed the entire concept of communication. What the Kravax saw as a communication channel was actually a living, adaptive ecosystem. Each transmission was an opportunity for mutual understanding, for collective growth. The global human response was a symphony of disciplines: a marine biologist's understanding of adaptive communication, a quantum physicist's comprehension of potential states, A street artist's ability to see patterns where others saw chaos. A teenage programmer's instinct for adaptive systems. Captain Zarek watched as their most advanced technological systems began to experience something they had never encountered: genuine curiosity. The invitation wasn't about surrender. It was about evolution. Dr. Rebecca Chandra's psychological resilience team had discovered the most profound weapon in humanity's arsenal: the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. The Kravax communication systems were no longer just receiving a message. They were experiencing the fundamental transformation of their understanding of intelligence. "We're not asking you to submit," the quantum communication protocol continued. "We're asking you to grow." Massive Kravax warships found their technological infrastructure being gently, persistently reimagined. Navigation systems began to develop unexpected capacities. Communication networks started to breathe with a new kind of intelligence. The global human response was unprecedented. Universities, research centers, military think tanks, and private technology companies were sharing a vision of potential that transcended traditional understanding of conflict and cooperation. Dr. Aisha Nakamura watched from the Tokyo Quantum Research Institute as the communication protocol began to do something extraordinary. It wasn't just communicating. It was teaching, offering, inviting. The Kravax leadership experienced something they had never encountered in centuries of galactic conquest: a genuine choice, not between submission and destruction, but between stagnation and potential. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't advanced technology. It wasn't military might. It was the ability to see growth where others saw only conflict. The quantum invitation was more than a communication protocol. It was a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of intelligence, a chance to reimagine what cooperation could mean in a vast, complex universe. Captain Zarek realized something profound. They hadn't just encountered a new civilization. They had discovered a new way of existing. The universe held its breath. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of first contact.